The White House is touting what it calls tremendous progress in the effort to stop Russia's nearly 4-year assault against Ukraine. A U.S. official told CBS News Ukraine's government has agreed to a peace proposal with only minor details left to be sorted out. But there has been no immediate reaction from Russia. U.S. officials and diplomatic sources tell us that Army Secretary Jan Driscoll is in Abu Dhabi today, meeting with Russian officials. We're also told a delegation from Ukraine is there and has been talking to Driscoll and his team. Ukraine's national security advisor voiced optimism that President Volodymyr Zelensky could travel to the U.S. before the end of this month to finalize an agreement. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Elizabeth Palmer has more from our London bureau.
Everyone involved in the negotiations for this peace deal is making positive noises, except, that is, for the Russians. Ukraine has signaled its support. The Europeans are firmly behind Ukraine. And White House spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt tweeted that there has been tremendous progress. But what the actual terms of the deal are, nobody knows at this stage. The original proposal came on the weekend. It was a 24-point plan that appeared to be a win for Russia and a capitulation for Ukraine. Crucially, it was going to demand that Ukraine give up 20% of its land, most of it occupied by Russia currently, but also some that Ukraine is still successfully defending. The proposal also stimulated that Ukraine would reduce the size of its armed forces by about a third and forfeit the right to join NATO. Also, the security guarantees for Ukraine in the event that Russia attacked again were pretty squishy. There were no promises in that deal that the U.S., for example, would intervene or help. European leaders weren't impressed. They pushed back on Ukraine's behalf. And there is a counter-proposal now public. It's lost the clause on Ukraine never joining NATO and also the shrinking of its military. But we just don't know whether that proposal has been incorporated into the version of the agreement that's currently on the table. Russia is not sounding overjoyed about all this, but for the moment is just saying it hasn't received anything official to accept or reject. So the next step may well be a visit by President Zelensky to the White House. Could be quite soon, before the end of the month, to iron out details with President Trump on a final version. And then the agreement will have to be put to the Russians. And then anything could happen, including a flat-out rejection. We'll just have to wait and see. Back to you.
Liz Palmer, thank you for more on this proposed peace deal. CBS News national security contributor Sam Vinograd joins us from our Washington bureau. I mean, to echo Liz's point, anything can happen, including a flat-out rejection. Ukraine not being allowed to join NATO has been a sticking point for Russia to stop its invasion. What are the next steps to take all sides to agree to a deal?
Well, Lindsay, we should certainly expect this to continue playing out publicly, as President Trump is very focused on the public rhetoric coming out of the White House, as well as what the Ukrainians, Europeans, and even the Russians are saying as he seeks to end the war. But what's happening behind closed doors is more important. We should expect the United States to continue to play a mediator role and to take the current draft of the proposal, which Ukraine has now agreed to. It's really their counter-proposal to what we now understand was largely a Russian-backed 28-point proposal. But for the United States to take that back to the Russians and to try to get to a point of convergence between the 28-point proposal and the now 19-point proposal. So I would expect extensive diplomacy over the next few days, including by a range of different officials from the Trump administration. We've seen Dan Driscoll, the Secretary of the Army, involved, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Special Envoy Witkoff and Jared Kushner. So the president is clearly deploying the full team to try to get to a deal.
Okay, so you just mentioned Kushner, Witkoff. They helped broker the Gaza peace deal. And you also talked about the importance of the behind closed doors diplomacy. We know Army Secretary Driscoll has been leading the talks. Why has he been seemingly the point person?
Well, I think there's two different pieces of this. There is ensuring that individuals who are known to have the president's ear and a close relationship with the president to be present. That's a Witkoff-Kushner piece of this. And at the same time, you do need subject matter experts to work on things like military concessions and NATO membership and more technical aspects of the deal. So I actually do think it's smart that various players are involved in these negotiations. Putin is going to need to know that any proposal that is presented to him has the backing of the U.S. president. At the same time, both parties are going to need to engage on the technical details with mediators that understand what they're discussing, whether it's the military aspects of the deal, frozen Russian assets. We could see Secretary Bessent involved, and more technical details.
All right, Sam Vinograd, thank you.
Thanks.